So my mom sometimes watches me. So if you're my mom, just flip off right now because I'm about to do the bus. Hi, I'm Mikey from the Crochet Crowd, and thank you so much for joining our channel today. I'm here to inspire you and create magic with your crochet hook. Are you ready to play?
Oh yeah, sounds good.
So every boy's fantasy at the age of 13 is to get their own laundry basket. And my mom says, you know what? I'm done. You are doing your own laundry for the rest of your life, and that's it. And so I know some of you are probably at home, oh my God, how can she do that? And it's like, my parents actually taught us a sense of responsibility. As a child, we had our own family business. And so I'd be working in the concession stands, dressing up like a clown with my dad because we owned a fair amusement park. And so literally at the very young age, they taught us the responsibility of our own actions contributes towards the house. So my mom decides, I've got my clothes inside out, the shirts, the pants, the socks, and, she would do our laundry and she'd have to put it back right. And so she says, you know what? I am done. And so for my 13-year-old birthday, she gave me a laundry basket and said, you know what? I'll show you how to use the machine. I'll provide the soap. And you're doing your own laundry for the rest of your life. And she was serious, folks. Serious. That's a mortal sin. So it comes down to personal responsibility. And how does this relate to the whole crochet field in trying to get children to be active in this community? The reality is taking personal responsibility, and I'll share a little bit more about that because I haven't shared about that yet. I'm just still throwing my mother under the bus with this whole laundry baskets because I think I'm traumatized for life or something. So I grew up in a little cottage for a significant portion of my life. And so in the evenings was craft night because there's only 2 TV stations, wood stove heating up the cottage. And I still remember the smell of the mold of the cottage. And so craft night became our personal thing. And my mom learned really early on, maybe through experience, maybe she's smarter than I think she is, or maybe she's a manipulator in the sense of trying to get us to be actively involved in something by making us personally accountable. And so I'm kind of throwing her under the bus, but in actual fact, she did me a life favor. And so she realized that when we're doing crafts, what color would you like to use? Red. Oh, then you should use red. And so because toys back in the old days were either blue or red, when there was 2 like paddles, red and blue, I always chose the red one because it was the less conflict item because my brother really wanted the blue. And so when you start making choices as a child that is reflective of what you want, it changes your attitude on for the activity itself. So when it comes to yarn and the crochet arts, what you have to realize as an adult, which my mom clued in because she's smarter than she lets on, she realized that if she gives us the choice on what we want to do, then we become more accountable because the choice was ours. And she can be a bit manipulative. It's like, oh, I really like this color. Do you think of green? No, I don't want green. Oh, but it would look so sharp with that whole blue that you're using. Oh, really? Oh, maybe I will use the green. And so she's getting her own way in the end, but she makes it feel like we as children feel really accountable for the decision that we think that we're making for ourselves. So I'm going to go a little bit forward in time, and then I'll come back to where I am. I think I need to get a life. So by the age of 13, I actually was working at Tim Hortons, a coffee shop. I know, 13 years old. And so I decided that wasn't for me because I was getting everybody's coffee order all screwed up and stuff. And so I ended up getting my actual real job at the age of 14 in September of 1988. And I literally stayed with that job for 4 years. And I loved my manager, Kathy. I loved her. So I love working with women. Because I had such a strong mentor as a child. Kathy was just so amazing. And when I had ideas, what's your idea? I want to hear your idea. She had her own goals for the department store, but what she did is that she included the staff into the decision making. So not only are you putting something on the shelf, but you feel like you were part of the decision to do that. And you have a sense of pride because of it. And I literally loved this woman. She was like literally one of my favorite people of all my entire life. And I ended up becoming the youngest key holder of the whole entire chain in this particular store, of actually managing the store. So it was really quite something to have that responsibility. But because she made us feel like we were part of the decision, it really made me particularly really quite involved to want to be the difference. So I'm going to take it back to the yarn, because that's all related to what I'm talking about here. I know, bear with me. I'm getting to my point. Oh, so long-winded today. So most of you know, the story goes that my mom showed me how to do the double crochet and chain, and I saw the Roseanne show because that just had come out, and I'm like, I saw the Afghan on the couch. I'm like, whoa, you can do more than just, you know, this chain work. So I became very bored with it, and I went to the craft store and I went and bought a book that I still have here at the studio. Still has my bus ticket for my first orientation for college. And so this book has been really quite instrumental for me, because my mom didn't know how to do much more with crochet other than chain and double crochet, but she was making a hell of a difference with charity. And, you know, was her mantra at the time. So, and she still does things, but it's in a different way now. So, when I think about it, is that she showed me how to do this crochet. And so she said, just grab something from my collection of yarn. And I don't even remember the color that I was using or the hook or whatever. But I realized that, you know what, this tool's not mine. The colors are really kind of not speaking to me. But I was really fascinated by the motion of the ocean, I guess you can say, the movement of the hook. I'm like, I can take this piece of strand and I can make something. I can take a piece of strand and make a bed cover that is my own color based on my own choices. And that's what it all comes down to, is choice. When you have the choice as a child, or even as an adult, you feel more accountable towards that decision to be able to stick things out, at least in my point of view, because that's just the way I am. So I wanted to experiment with crochet. After I was like so hooked on it, I ran to Zeller's. Well, it didn't run. Does this look like it runs? So I went over with the bus to Zeller's, and I picked out a bag full of sale yarn, and it was a blue and white variegated, so dark blue, light blue, white. So anyway, I'm like, oh, I can make something with this. And my mom gave me a size N as in Nancy crochet hook, which is a four ply medium weight, is way too big. But she wanted me to have like success story much faster, because she knew that if I could see results faster, that I would be more motivated to continue. And I literally was motivated. Can I say addiction to yarn? So what this did for me is that once I got the motion of the ocean into my head, just on that first evening, my mom didn't say, you know what, just use my own collection of yarn, when it wasn't speaking to me personally. What she encouraged me to do is go and pick yarn that you love, so that when you're working with it, you can see your own choice being worked out in your hands. Am I making any sense? So what it became to me is like, this is my bag of yarn here to make my own bed cover for my own waterbed that I had. I got it. Am I that old? I might be. Splash. And so it just made me accountable. And I realized that that bag will turn into an Afghan if I just put the motion to the ocean. And I keep watching Star Trek Next Generation. And that was really quite my idea. What I have seen in the craft show circuit of teaching people and teaching kids with parents and stuff, that the dynamic of teaching a kid to a parent can be a bit of friction, you have to say. So I'll speak to that in just a second. So I was at this craft show and I was teaching at the table, and this mom comes up to me with her child, and the child is left-handed, and the child is being taught right-handed crochet because the parent is, but the child is left-handed. And so the child is hating every minute. The mom is showing, but it's the wrong hand of being in the motion in the ocean. And I'm like, you know what? Why are you teaching your child to crochet right-handed when the child is left-handed? And the parent's like, well, because I'm right-handed, it's the only way I can show. And I'm like, and the kid is resenting. Okay, if the kid could like throw darts with their eyes. And like, you know what? I don't blame the kid at all, because the choice is being taken from the child to want to learn a hobby that is benefiting the parent versus the child. So what you have to consider is that listen to the child. If they're not holding the hook the way that you think they should, let them hold the hook the way they think they should, because they will learn pretty damn fast that if the hook is not really working for them, that it's doing that. So I even ran into a crocheter last year, 2021, where they are doing the motion differently. And if they would just change one slight motion, they would crochet a lot faster. And they're already doing it in the step, but they're just not being consistent about it. And so watching them actually do it and change their motion actually gives them a bigger lift because they can crochet faster. So one of the things that I cannot be certified as a crochet teacher is that I let people figure it out for themselves, how they want to hold the yarn. The way that Daniel holds his yarn on his hook, that's a divorce waiting to happen. However, it makes sense for him, but I can see why it takes him like, maybe 5 years to make a scarf. But, some people are just that stubborn that they will not change. So what you have to do, I believe, and this is just my point of view because I was a step parent just for a few short years, is that you have to make the child accountable for the decisions that they make, but also make it accountable for the yarn that they want to use. Because I have found just watching people at the craft shows that a child will take more interest if they are part of the decision making, right from choosing the right yarn to their hook maybe, and to the patterns that they want to choose. Now, you have to be realistic. Are they going to start doing mittens when they've never crocheted ever? That a kid could probably do it. However, you want the child to have some kind of success story pretty fast. And so for myself, I started with a double size Afghan. Talented. I was determined. It was just like, this thing is not going to kick my ass and I'm going to do it. And I was so delighted when I was done. I don't even have a picture of this thing. Well, I think I might somewhere. But I was just so delighted. And it was my own push from my own decision to create that. So I sometimes think when we really look at the demographics of crocheters, a lot of us come back to crochet later on in our life. But if you can introduce a child, they're going to say, you know what, my mom used to show me this, and my grandmother used to say, and I used to fight with somebody to do this. And you will find those stories exist. So for myself, is that the yarn arts went with my grandmother, went to my mom, and then to me. But we're finding in today's era that we have the grandparents that know how to do the crochet and the yarn arts, and that has skipped a parent, and now the child might be interested in learning. So this is why crochet is existing online, primarily because we have generations that are skipping that because life is getting busy. Also, yarn costs money. So we find as the demographics get older, people have more spare money than they do when they're in their 20s. I have all of this yarn, but it is a business, so don't judge this crocheter by their yarn stash. I would not have all of this if I was just a regular crocheter not teaching online. So you have to be realistic. Don't let yarn overtake your house. But also teach a child that, their own decisions matter. And even if you don't think it matters to them as much, sometimes keeping your mouth shut and letting them find their own way is sometimes the best way. They say throwing a kid in a swimming pool and making them swim is a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea. I was terrified of deep water, so it took me forever to get into the deep end of a pool. But, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And you know what? Just introducing a child, just maybe even for a project, and even if they don't finish, they may come back to it later on in life, and they'll probably give you the credit for you actually being the first person to show them. Or they might give me the credit because I was online teaching it without the lecture. So be realistic and let the children make their own decisions. And I'm sorry this video was so long. And Mom, I hope you weren't listening.